Hello everybody and welcome back to Firefall Junction once again. Got another review for you today, and as we can see we have a pacer here by Hornby. I would have done this review a lot earlier, but unfortunately I had some issues with this model when I got it. I knew it did have some issues when I bought it anyway, but the issues were a bit more serious than I first imagined, and obviously worse than what the seller thought as well. But yes, we're finally here with the pacer. It's a Class 142 pacer, and as we can see, if we look at the end of the box, Northern Class 142 pacer. Now it's not actually Northern; it's actually the First Great Western livery, but it's the ex-Northern livery, so it's sort of Northern livery, but it's got a First Great Western branding. So that's probably why they've done that. DCC ready, and she has been chipped by me. I bought her DCC ready, but I have fitted a chip to her, and since I've done that, she does run a lot better than when she was on DC. But wow, the pacers are quite famous trains. A lot of people love them, a lot of the people hate them. I really like them. I think they're quite nice. Definitely very different. Very different. Not the sort of usual train definitely not the sort of thing you expect to see on a railway line, probably. Because they are literally, well, buses on rails pretty much, and obviously they are the typical sort of, well, they have four wheels obviously on each unit, and again obviously not the sort of thing you'd expect in a train. But definitely very good trains, very successful. Obviously not many of them are running now. Obviously most of them have been retired now, but there's still, I think there's still a few running on the main line, but they haven't got that long left. And obviously there's quite a few that have been preserved as well. So if you do want to go and see one in real life, it shouldn't be incredibly hard to do. And if you want to get a model of one, then it shouldn't be incredibly hard to do either, but they are quite rare. A lot of the modern liveries are anyway. For example, obviously the First Great Western livery is quite hard to get hold of. The Arriva one is quite hard to get hold of. And there are a few other liveries that I think Hornby did as well, but obviously you can get them like this sort of tooling, which is still quite old tooling, but you can get them like this, and you can also get, I think, 1980s versions that Hornby did as well. Then obviously Real Track or Rail Track. I think they've got their proper, really super high quality ones that are quite new. But obviously we got the Hornby one today. But anyway, enough rambling on. Okay, trying to type it in the box and we'll have a look at it. So it's typical Hornby packaging. Obviously it's not brilliant, but I suppose it does the job. We just lift this flap up. There we are. Then we've got the instructions. Obviously I do recommend you read through these because they are quite important. Usual stuff, coupling them together, and you have to be really careful when coupling these kind of units together to make sure you don't bend the electrical contacts underneath, because this model really does rely on those contacts to make sure that the motor has enough power. Lubrication, and again you only need tiny amounts. And obviously replacing the motor, which is definitely very useful. Body removal, definitely one of the most painful things is trying to get the body back on this unit. I was literally faffing around for ages trying to get the body back on the motor, but I did manage to do it eventually. And obviously then we've got I think there's somewhere about fitting this coda. Maybe not. There doesn't seem to be anywhere in here about fitting this coda, but again, she is DCC ready. She has got an 8-pin socket inside the motor unit if you want to fit a decoder to her. So yeah, I definitely recommend you read through those. And there are the two units. So if we just grab the top one, they're wrapped in the typical paper, pretty much shredded to pieces. We just put all the packaging back in there, and we can get the box out of the way. I just put the instructions back on top, and there we are. So we'll grab the motor unit first. Excuse the floor, I know it's very dirty, but a lot of this paint doesn't really come off the floor, so sorry about that. But here we are, and this is the motor unit. Now, as you can see, the motor is just there, and it's literally just this front axle here that drives. None of the other wheels on the model actually drive, but you can see here with the tooling. On the older versions, the 1980s Hornby model, both end axles on the model drive, but on this model it's just one end. And she has got traction tyres on both axles, which isn't brilliant, but I suppose they have to do it because there isn't a massive amount of weight to this model, but it's not incredibly light. This entire section here that holds the motor is actually solid metal, which is good. But speaking of this, this is why this is why I had the issues with her, because when I bought her, I knew that there was some sort of issue with the gear on the axle and everything. So, it simply said when I bought it, the axle was just slipping, that maybe the axle was just that the gear had just come loose on the axle and needed gluing back into place. So I thought, fair enough, that should be fairly easy to do. However, when it arrived, I discovered the gear was actually split, which meant, well, there wasn't really anything I could do about that apart from replacing it. But one of the problems with the gear is that you pretty much can't get it off the axle. You literally can't get the axle out of the actual block that it sits in. You really can't. You just can't get it out. So the only option I had really was to, well, because I couldn't really find any spare parts anywhere, I actually bought another Hornby pacer of the same tooling. I think it's the Northern Spirit one, and I took this, well, the block that holds the motor and everything from that, and fitted it to this one. So this isn't actually the original block that the motor sits in. This is the original part, and as you can see, they're exactly identical. I even used the motor from the Northern Spirit one as well, because I found that taking the motor that was originally in this model and putting it in that block, I find it didn't sit quite right, and it made quite a lot of vibrating noises, and it wasn't very good. So I even took the motor out of the Northern Spirit one as well and put it in there. And since I've done that, she does run a lot better. Still a little bit noisy, but it's definitely a lot better. So I've now got a spare motor for the pacer as well if I ever need to replace it. And the Northern Spirit one, well, it's just going to be a parts donor for now, but eventually I'll probably convert it to a rolling chassis and do some stuff to it. But at the moment, it's just sitting in bits at the moment next to the layout. So yeah, not a very good start with this model. If I do grab the block here and rotate the gear enough, you should be able to see the splits in the gear somewhere. It's not incredibly obvious. If I just try and find it for you, actually, it's not the easiest thing to find, but it is in there. There we go. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but the gear is split right through there between those two teeth. Above there you can probably just about see the axle through there a bit. If I don't think I'll be able to pry it apart too much, but it is in there. That gear is split, which meant the worm gear from the motor kept slipping on there, and she just wouldn't run very well. There wasn't really anything I could do about that, so yeah, that'll probably go in the bin at some point. But anyway, technical issues aside, the model itself is very good. Now that it works, it is very, very good. You can see all the wires in there for the decoder. I fitted a Zemo decoder to this model, because I have been informed they are very good decoders, and they are very good decoders, and they're very well priced as well. So I do recommend you get these Zemo decoders if you want some good quality decoders for a good price. I recommend these. They are fantastic. The livery application is beautiful. You can even see the gold there. Even shines quite well in the light. That's quite good. The doors are pretty good. Loads of rivets all over the place. Just like the one for Hornby 153, it says loads of rivets. She hasn't got any lights, but this tooling is quite old. Obviously Hornby don't do the pacers anymore, and this is an old model. So yeah, there's no lights unfortunately, but you could fit some if you wanted to, and I have seen that done. You can fit lights to these models if you want to, but I probably won't. Inside the model isn't, well, it's not too bad. It's not brilliant. We have seen better. If you wanted to, you can put people on the seats in there if you wanted to. You could fit lighting strips inside the model if you wanted to. You even got little stickers on the window there. I think they say no smoking, but they're so small I can't really see them very well. Underframe detail, there isn't a lot of it. There you can see the other axle there, and you can see the pickups. and then you've got the coupling. And as I said earlier, you really need to be careful with this coupling. You really don't want to bend these contacts here, because the model really does rely on that connection to run really well. And again, obviously you've got the traction tires and the front axle there. And the motor, it is just a 3-pole motor, I believe. So it's not the best motor, but it is reliable. It does seem to make the model run quite well. But yeah, it's not the best. But again, it's quite an old model, so not really expecting anything else. The destination board there says Exmouth, and the other one says Paignton, I believe. Yeah, it says Paignton. And obviously that's pretty much almost most of the time. That's literally what these trains did. Well, when the ones that were with First Great Western and GWR anyway, they pretty much only did services between Exmouth and Paignton and so on. They rarely went anywhere else, but they did go. They might have gone other places a few times, but they rarely did. Around the front, we've got some windscreen wipers there, but they aren't separately fitted. They are just moulded to the window, I believe. We can see the unit number there, 142068. If anyone knows what happens to 142068 after retired with First Great Western, then do let me know, because I have no idea what happened to this particular unit after it retired from service. We've got some warning signs there. I'm guessing nothing that alerts to overhead wires. But yeah, overall it's not too bad. Obviously it's quite a basic model, but for its age, I wouldn't say it's too bad. Again, and the dummy units just as good. Obviously, I think the units probably weigh roughly the same. The motor adds a little bit of weight, but to us, I think that both units do weigh roughly the same. But obviously on the dummy units, there's no motor on it, but she has got pickups on all of the wheels. Obviously, she does rely on that quite heavily. And obviously, you've got the other coupling here. Again, livery application just as good, and the same amount of detail. Again, loads of rivets. Obviously, the roof is quite bland, but yeah, you don't usually see much on a roof anyway. Again, the doors, typical sort of collapsing doors, which again, you're just used to seeing that on a bus, aren't you? Really, not really used to seeing it on a train. But yeah, overall, not a bad model. Obviously not super duper amazing, but not bad. It's definitely not a bad model. If you can get these for a good price, do. You won't be disappointed. They are reliable, and they do run well. Well, especially once you've got them DCC fitted anyway. On DC, well, on DC, they're not very bad either. So I have tried running this on DC at the lowest possible speed, and it does run very well at low speed. But anyway, then the next thing to do is put her on the track and see how she runs. Okay, here we are over the layout. So let's just grab the Hornby Class 142 Pacer. As you can see, she's coupled together. There we are. Again, you just have to be really careful with this coupling. You need to make sure you don't bend those contacts underneath. That she's together. The coupling's moving nicely. So if we just put her on, can be a little bit difficult to get this kind of model on the track. There we are, she's on. Again, she has been chipped, well, like most of my locos anyway. So we just select her number. There we are. Let's just give her a bit of a wiggle, because she hasn't run very much with me. There we are. Back the other way. There we are. Nice and smooth. She is a little bit grindy though. She does sound a little bit groggy. She does sound a little bit rough, but again, she hasn't got many miles on the clock with me anyway. Sorry about that. So yeah, she does need to have a little bit of running in time. I did give her a little bit of a run after repairing her and servicing her and everything. But we'll get her running around the layout, run her around a few times, get her warmed up, and see what she's like. And there we are. Nice medium speed, not too slow, not too fast. You can see she sounds quite nice. She's not sounding too groggy anymore. But yeah, she's running beautifully. For quite a basic mechanism, that's not bad. That's pretty good. Well, overall, I'm impressed. She's not bad, definitely not bad. If you do want a pacer by Hornby, I definitely recommend you get one. It would definitely be a well worth investment. I highly recommend them.